Welcome to Raz-Lee Education. Today we will talk about data loss prevention, DLP, on IBM. My name is Mocho Sofer. I'm a marketing manager, and we will start with this seminar that is about half an hour. So first of all, we need to know what is the primary data protection objective. We need to identify the data that we will be protecting. And there are many ways to know which is the data that has to be protected, but most of them are about compliance regulations. So we have to take in consideration the regulations because they have a very specific set of rules and policies that will help us with data loss prevention. Defining DLP, it's practice to detect and prevent data breaches. Basically, we want to prevent that the data is exfiltrated or destroyed, intended or not intended. Many organizations use DLP to protect and secure their data. Also, using DLP helps you to comply with regulations. There is a way of viewing this in a simple manner. So how to enable DLP? The first that we need is monitoring the access to sensitive files. And this, we get it auditing data movement. Also, auditing data movement and detecting where occurs the data leak. We are enabled to rapid threat detection and response. This part is based on policies, and you need the help of some tools because you need to monitor the access in real time. Also, you need to have a detection and response also in real time. And of course, you need to know what is your sensitive data. Because knowing your sensitive data, you can enforce the security around this kind of data. So we will talk about DLP and compliance. DLP in a basis will protect and will ensure that the sensitive data is not lost, misused, or accessed by unauthorized users. So as I told before, first of all, we need to know what is our sensitive data. And to know what is our sensitive data, we have to ask some questions. For example, do your organization collect and store one of the following, or maybe more than one of the following? Because if we have personal identifiable information, or protected health information, or payment card information, or private investing and market information, we need a system that is able to use DLP, and we need to protect that sensitive data. A software helping you with DLP must classify the confidential and business critical data, and it must identify violations of policy. And generally, they comply with HIPAA, PCI DSS, or GDPR. So our next point is to know a little more about this. We will talk about HIPAA. HIPAA is a Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, and was enacted in the US on the year 1996. But the second title of HIPAA is the Administrative Simplification. So this addresses with the security of privacy of health data. So all your medical history must be treated as sensitive data. And then we have PCI DSS. And this is a standard assembled for the payment card industry security standards. So it implies that any organization that holds, process, or pass credit card information must treat that information as sensitive data. And that data has to be encrypted or tokenized, and that data has to be shown only with people with an authority level to make some really important actions against that. And then we have GDPR. And GDPR is a protection regulation for the European Union, and it reinforces how the personal data is processed, stored, and destroyed when it's no longer required. So it's a whole set of policies to treat sensitive information, and it's mandatory in the European Union. And we also have SOX. SOX is also called Sarbanes-Oxley Act because it is known that when a company has investors, it has to protect those investors. So cannot leak information about investment market, the name of the stocks, the value of the stocks, speculations, etc. And this is very important when you are in the financial sector. Now that we know which policies and which compliance regulations we have to follow, we need to know what are the real benefits for using a DLP. Okay, the real benefits is that when you put data loss prevention as a policy in your company, you are making policies, procedures, and using tools to help you to be protected against malicious insiders. Also, you comply with industry regulations. Also, you can prevent ransomware infiltrating in the network due to the control that you're having in your network. And also, you minimize the risk of a data breach because all the data must be encrypted, protected, and you're monitoring exhaustively the data movement. You also protect your employees from accidental data loss because you have backups and you have many other policies that apply in accidental data loss. And finally, but not less important, you're improving the data security on the supply chain. So all these benefits obviously are good, the benefits for your company. And the only thing you need to do is comply with the regulations. So you need one tool to make compliance and to make the manager work easier. In this case, we will talk about Audit. iSecuirity Audit is a software that enhances auditing capabilities because iSecuirity Audit will compliance with HIPAA, PCI, GDPR, and SOX, and has the predefined tools to comply with the 4 security compliance manager. Also, the effectiveness of policies, because usually you need to implement policies and procedures, okay? But they have to be evaluated and tested if they are effective or not. So without it, you can evaluate and test these policies and procedures before executing them. IBM has some auditing capabilities. What iSecuirity Audit does is to enhance these capabilities, adding several new features, and they are in a user-friendly interface because you can work with large number of system values, and usually it's confusing. But in Audit, you can get the reports, and the reports are represented in a table, so it's quite easier to know them. Even you can use Audit with iSecuirity visualizer and get them in form of graphics. Also, make an audit for the IBM. It's how much IT control do you have to protect your corporate assets? Okay, how do you ensure the data integrity? And policies that are aligned with the business overall goals. So you need to be sure that when you are auditing for the IBM, you have full control of all the corporate access. If not, you will not be able to realize an extensive audition. About the data loss, because the main issue here in this webinar is data loss prevention. So how Audit can help to reduce the data loss. And it helps to reduce some risk like data tampering, data loss, or data leak, and service disruption, poor management of IT systems. So we have a complete solution that will help with data loss, and we will have a tool and the policies to make our system comply with data loss prevention, and also will be comply with regulatory bodies. And there is a tool that is inside the Audit. It's called Query Wizard. Okay, Query Wizard, it's a tool to make the reports. The advantage is that you don't have to make coding. So you can get all the reports that you want to do without programming. And this is very useful because you can have a selection criteria the same way that if you were programming an SQL query to the database, because you have and or equal, not equal, greater or less on all the lists included in the query. So the only thing that you have to do is to set up your query, which field I'm looking for, if has to be equal or not equal to other, it has to be like other, or if it has to be included in a list or other fields in another database. And then you can get this information and you can get the report. So you must wonder how the iSecuirity audit gets all this information. And basically, on the left of the screen, we can see the Q audit journal. And from there, we get user profiles, system values, objects, job start change, etc., and all the data that is over that. Then we have the QVPM and the QAP filter. On all these tools, we get them also as an information. We need also the IFS logs and the system activity. With this information in the blue square, we can have real-time information. And we will modify this information and save it on an audit repository. But in between, when we are taking the information before saving it, it's probably that we have some alerts and actions because we are working with the information and at the same time we are applying policies and the rules. So there is a component that is called iSecuirity action, and it's able to work in that point of the process and execute a CL script, send an email, send a message or an SMS. Also send information log to SIAM. And with this action, as you can execute script, you can stop attacks and send alerts. So while they are working with sensitive data, you can respond to this possible leak or sensitive data. When we have the real-time information and we have the stored information on the audit repository, we can make a report. The report is done in the report generation, as you can see in the middle of the screen. And the report generation has the query wizard. So we can put the information to a report, PDF, HTML, or CSV, or we can connect to the iSecuirity visualizer and also get some extra information that are called snapshots, and then have our data in a graphical way to be presented at business intelligence. All this work is made by Audit, and the two special cases like alerts and actions and the visualizer are easily manipulated because we just need to install the component called action and it will work automatically without the same with the component called visualizer. So you don't need to make an extra configuration. You just still working the same, but you have in the middle some alerts and action that can be triggered, and those are configurable, absolutely. And then you have a new way to present your information thanks to the visualizer. So as a summary, we will go back to the same three spheres diagram that define the DLP. First, we need to know our sensitive data. We need to audit that data. How? Monitoring the access. And we need to detect that leaks. How? We need to enable rapid threat detection and response. And having all this, we are enforcing the content, our security. So we are making enable data loss prevention in our systems and networks. So summary about Audit. Audit will monitor the activities and objects in real time. Audit can trigger alert message and corrective actions. Usually, you feel that it's enough with the alert message, but sometimes you will want to make some actions in response, and then is when iSecuirity actions can make these actions. Then you have time grabs to apply rules to filters to different and predefined times. And also you have a feature that is called backward glance. So you can look what happened in the last few minutes. And about the reports are created with Query Wizard, and you can view multiple audit types in one query. Also, you can sort the query data in any order, and you can design your custom opt-out for query data. You can schedule a report, you can schedule an audit, and you can integrate it with iSecuirity visualizer, so you have a graphical representation of your data. If you have some questions about our security audit, or you want a demo about the product, please contact us and someone from support will make a demo for you. If you have simple questions, you can send your questions to support@razlee.com, and you can put the question on our YouTube channel. All the webinars that we have done till the day of yesterday are already up in our YouTube channel. So I truly recommend you go there and see the other webinars. If you need more information, please go to www.razlee.com. Hope you have a great day, and thank you very much for being in this webinar.